the rock star whose comeback is bigger than life, singer Meatloaf. Now from Washington, here's Larry King. His album hit the top of the charts earlier this year. Meatloaf, next on Larry King Live.
We're back on Larry King Live, which, by the way, starting Monday night, will be simulcast on radio via Westwood One. You can check your newspaper for details as to radio stations in your area. Everything about Meatloaf is larger than life. His size, his style, his pop rock music. When he hit the charts at #1 earlier this year, he surprised critics and fans alike with an astonishing comeback. Perhaps the biggest hit of his career, Bat Out of Hell 2. 17 years after his signature album, Bat Out of Hell. Joining us tonight in Washington is Meatloaf, one of my favorite people.
Hi, Larry. How you doing?
Hey, Meat.
Well, I love when you call me Meat, Larry.
What else is there to call you? What's your name?
That's it, Meat.
Okay,
that's
so
exactly right.
If you reveal your name, I'll call you by name.
No, Meat is what everybody's called me. Even my dad called me that. They used to, Meat, come on to dinner.
What? And Meat is what they call pitchers.
That's right, yeah.
Why 17 years between two of the biggest hit albums ever made? Like
I'm slow.
Like Bat Out of Hell 2, what, 25, 26 million albums?
Yeah, about that. Yeah, it's the fourth, fifth biggest selling record of all time.
What happened to you in between? I mean, you always worked. Right?
Oh, I've always worked. But in 1979, I just didn't agree with everything that was going on. And everything, at that point in my life, I didn't enjoy being a celebrity. And I didn't come into this business to be a celebrity, and I didn't even think about it, that happening to me. I mean, that didn't cross my mind until...
So you became one, and you didn't like it?
I didn't like it, and then everything, because we sold so many records initially, everything became about money. And I really am not in it to be a celebrity or to make the money.
So what did you do?
I like the work, so I quit. I just looked at him and said, well, if you guys all want to, this is all that's important to you, then this is not what's important to me, so
Did you
bye.
stop recording?
Yeah, I stopped recording. I walked out. I mean, I walked out of recording an album. I said bye.
Did you entertain? Did you go around and sing?
If I did, it probably wasn't very good. Not until about 1984, 85 did I really start back again.
And what took you back?
I missed it. I missed the work. I like the work.
Not the money and the adulation.
No, I like the work. I mean, I enjoy the work, and I did some film parts in there. I did some albums, but I didn't like the records that I did then. I enjoy my film work. I enjoy acting. Are
you now enjoying all that's happened to you?
Yeah, because I ignore it. I don't pay attention to it. I find it very funny. It's like I was.
But you don't go out promoting things, right?
No, not a lot. I take months where I don't do any interviews or anything. But I've been dying to do your show ever since the record came out. I said I got to do Larry King.
Well,
and you know why? Now let me explain to you why.
Why?
Because when any American band, and right now there are bands that are American, and they're over in Europe, and they have finished their show, and they're awake because they can't go to sleep. And you know what they're doing? They're watching Larry King live.
Right now.
That's right. So Steven Tyler from Aerosmith is probably watching right now, so I say, hi, Steven, how you doing tonight?
And when they get up in the middle of the afternoon, they can watch it again.
That's right. And all the people from America that have just landed and have jet lag are watching as well.
So you are here just for our audiences outside the country.
No, I'm
You
here
don't care about Toledo.
No, I do care about Toledo. I care about everybody. But I'm saying that I know, because the last, I was in Europe for 3 months, and I saw every one of your shows from March, April, and May.
How do you explain Bat Out of Hell 2? How do you explain it?
And how do I explain it?
Yeah, I mean, you're a bright guy as you look at it analytically.
You mean the success of it?
Yeah, the success of I Would Do Anything For You, which people never get tired of hearing.
I just think that we have a different style, and I think that we are, you know, they have alternative rock. I really believe that we're true alternative, because we're on an island by ourselves. There's a lot of people like us, though. I mean, I think Billy Joel is on an island by himself.
Yeah, but you're understandable. We can hum your song.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. I think that the audience is a little older, the demographic is a little, even though the kids, I mean, the younger kids really went for anything for love. I just think that a lot of the momentum that carried it forward was people who necessarily weren't into rap, and I'm not saying rap is bad, or weren't into alternative, weren't into Pearl Jam, and I'm not saying they're bad. My daughter loves them, my 19-year-old, my 13-year-old. I think they're pretty good as well. But I just think that we fit into a different place. I think that's why country got so big. I think that's why people like Garth Brooks and
filled a need.
Yeah, I think because the people in the 60s and 70s, and I know that in the middle of psychedelic music and all that, Cream had funny lyrics, but they were looking for melodies and lyrics. And
which never go away, right?
Never go away. Absolutely.
As my friend Tony Bennett keeps proving.
Tony
unbelievable.
is just wonderful.
By the way, the last time I was with Meatloaf was when Bob Costas had him as a surprise guest on his later show in his last week of Later. I brought Mario Cuomo, and he brought Meatloaf from behind a curtain. I'll never forget that.
You turned white.
Meatloaf's new, Meatloaf.
And do you know what Mario Cuomo said to me then? He walks up to me later on, he goes, "Hi, I'm Mario Cuomo, I'm the governor of New York, and we played softball together, Meat." And it's true, we played softball. I played softball with him in the same team at Shea Stadium once. But I couldn't believe he introduced himself as the governor of New York. No kidding, Mario.
Meat's new record is Objects in the Rear View Mirror May Appear Closer Than They Are.
Very good.
It's objects in the side view mirror.
Yeah, well, it's the mirror image. My partner, Jim Steinman, who wrote that piece, he was driving to the studio every day when we were working, and he kept seeing this mirror, and he came in to me and he said, "I want to write a song with that title." I said, "Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, try that." And he did, but then when he finished it, because he was trying to get it to rhyme, it was the mirror image of what it says in the mirror. And you can spend hours on this thing. Well, now, it's that, so we won't do that.
Just let's say it's a hit.
Yeah.
We'll be back with Meatloaf and your phone calls on Larry King Live, Saturday night and evening with Billy Crystal. Monday, we're in Normandy for the 50th anniversary of D-Day with an hour-and-a-half special. We'll be right back. We're back on Larry King Live with Meatloaf, and we go to Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. Hello.
Hello, Meatloaf?
Hello.
Hi, as a fan, growing up with certain albums were better than others, and Bat Out of Hell was one of them. I was wondering, after the massive success of Bat Out of Hell, did you think it would be easy to do it again, or did you think, well, this is it, I'll never have another album like this?
First of all, I really don't think that way, because the way I think and the way Jimmy thinks is that we really just want to do the best work we can do. And
Jimmy is?
Jim Steinman, my partner. And
so you don't think about terms of hits?
I don't. No, we don't. It's like, let's do the best work we can do, and that's really how it comes down.
Virginia Beach, Virginia. Hello.
Hi, I've got to tell you, I was at your concert in Richmond, and it was fabulous.
Thank you very much.
I was going to ask about Objects in the Rearview Mirror, which is my favorite, but Larry took that question. So,
shame on you, Larry, stealing this woman's question.
What response did you personally enjoy more, the one for Bat Out of Hell 1 or 2?
Bat Out of Hell 2. I can enjoy that. Yeah, I can enjoy that. The Bat Out of Hell 1 I was not ready for. I had a nervous breakdown. I mean, I literally, yeah, really had a nervous.
Hospitalized?
Should have been. I wasn't. Should have been. I went to psychologists and psychiatrists for 2 years, and I went with them to deal with the word star, because people were calling me a star. I mean, that's how crazy I was. I was a lunatic.
It helped you?
Yeah.
Analysis helped?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Bethesda, Maryland. Hello.
Hi. I love your music, and I love opera. You have a pure tenor voice, which really can't shine in large concerts. Will you ever do small venues again?
Oh, I'm sure we will. I really like I really like theaters a lot. That's where I feel really at home. I like the large venues, but I really like theaters. And I am a Helden tenor. A Helden tenor. A hell of a tenor. A hell of a tenor. A Helden tenor. There was 3 in the world, and 1 died. So now there's only 2, but there's only 1 legit.
So strange?
Basically, all I can tell you is that the way it was described to me is that you sing higher than it sounds. In other words, you're hitting higher notes.
Not alto tenor.
No, it's a Helden tenor, and there's been very few of them. And in 1973, I was doing As You Like It for Joe Papp in the park with Raul Julia, and Friends of the Opera or somebody came backstage, and I had, in 1973, I think I'd made $7,000. They offered me $60,000 a year to do nothing but study and train. and guaranteed me in 5 years, and they were going to pay me $300,000 just to train, that in 5 years I would make my debut at the Met.
And
I said, no, I couldn't deal with it. I'm it's all opera is too confined for me.
wouldn't have been great. Meatloaf in Bohème. La Bohème. We'll be back with our remaining moments with Mr. Loaf after this. Meatloaf likes our theme.
Yeah,
Emmons, the Netherlands. Hello.
Yes, hello?
Hello.
What's your question, dear?
I'm Pascal. I'm calling from Holland, and I want to ask Meatloaf, where did you get the name Meatloaf?
A good question from the Netherlands.
Where did I get the name?
How did you pick that name?
I didn't pick it. I didn't pick it at all. And I have some great stories on how I got that.
What's the real story?
The real story is that there is no story. The real story is that kids, I was about 8 years old. I've been called Meatloaf since I was about 8. But people don't really call me Meatloaf. They just call me Meat, like you did a while ago.
Well,
because
how did you pick Meatloaf as an entertaining?
I didn't again. What happened was...
Got 30 seconds. What
Okay,
happened?
30 seconds.
The real story.
A real story is that I moved to California, and people were calling me Tex. And I said, stop calling, because I was from Texas. I said, stop calling me Tex. Well, what do people call you at home? I go, Meatloaf. And they went, okay. And so that was that, and then it just kept going. I went into my first professional job was in hair in California. And
was it the credit was Meatloaf?
Meatloaf. Oh, but my favorite was Joe Papp when I was doing Shakespeare in the Park, and he said, and
we welcome Michael Lee Aday, better known as Meatloaf, rock musician, actor, noted for the Bat Outta Hell album. That trilogy sold more than 40 million copies. His new album, I have it right here, Hang Cool Teddy Bear, was released this week. Didn't you retire? I thought you retired.
Well, that's like, I went on the Today Show a few years ago, and Katie Couric, before I was getting on, they said, oh, Meatloaf's coming on. And she goes, I thought he died. So I went, no, Katie, I'm right here. And so, no, I haven't retired.
You didn't do a Sinatra and retire?
No, I haven't done that. Well, in a sense, I did well, not last year, but 3 years ago now. I got a cyst on my vocal cord, and oh, not fun at all. I mean, that's what happened to Julie Andrews, and a lot of singers have had that, and the surgery is not a pleasant thing. But I didn't have to have surgery; it kind of disappeared on its own. But I was on stage in Newcastle. And I was on stage for about an hour, and all of a sudden I started, and nothing came out. And I turned around, and I remember standing there, and I totally lost it. And I went up, and I said, thank you very much. It's been a wonderful career, and I'm sorry, but I have to leave the stage now, and I've retired. And I was so freaked out, I stayed in the dressing room until about 3 a.m., never left the arena.
Now tell me about Hang Cool Teddy Bear. 12 new cuts, right?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. Hank 13 actually. It's Hank Cool Teddy Bear is produced by Rob Cavallo, who is yeah, you know Cavallo.
Of course.
Yeah, Rob Cavallo produced for those that don't, Green Day, My Chemical Romance, Goo Goo Dolls, along with many others. And I wanted a real rock and roll record, and I wanted it to vary from the other records. It's still going to be Meatloaf. It's still going to be dramatic. We're still going to have story songs because that's just what I do. But I wanted it to be a little more current, a little more modern in its styling. And so I went to Rob. And the great thing about Rob, and I think Rob is one of the great producers, maybe the greatest, because of this fact. He says to you, I'm not making a Rob Cavallo record, I'm making a Meatloaf record. And that alone is startling because everybody has their ego, but he kind of seems to put it aside and kind of nurse you and make sure that everything that's going on is exactly how you want it. So at some point, we decided that we were going to make a concept record, and I called my friend here in Hollywood, a screenwriter named Killian Kerwin, and I brought up a story that he had about a guy who dies, or is dying, but his life flashes forward instead of backwards. And so I said, can we adapt that, Killian, to be a soldier? And Killian went, I don't even know what you're talking about. And then after a second, he went, oh, I remember that. And so we kind of hashed it through for about an hour and a half. And we went back and we got a whole group of writers, Justin Hawkins from a band called The Darkness, James Michael, Rick Brantley, all young writers, brought them out. It was kind of like summer camp at Rob's house. And we created this album. And I don't know how we did it, because it seems like a dream, because it didn't seem like we ever worked. It just seemed like we ate chicken.
Where'd you record it?
At his house. Rob has a studio in Hidden Hills. And it seemed like we never worked, and all of a sudden it was done. It was like the elves that came down and did the shoes.
How's your health other than the cyst?
My health is fine, just, knees. Knees aren't what they used to be. I've lost a step or two, like Lynn Swan.
What keeps you going, Meat? Loaf,
you know what?
Loaf?
I'll tell you what keeps me going. What keeps me going is constantly wanting to improve, to be better. To be better tomorrow than I am today, not only as an entertainer, but as a person. To be kinder as a person, to be more polite as a person, to have more respect for everybody around me, to learn something new every day, because last time I saw you, we were playing softball in Dodger State. Be a better softball pitcher tomorrow than I was last summer. To make, and that's what drives me through shows, is that if I'm in Hershey, Pennsylvania that one night, and I'm in New York City the next night, the show in Hershey has to be amazing, and the show in New York has to be better. Now let's say I'm in Poughkeepsie the next night. Well, that show in Poughkeepsie has got to be better than the one that was in New York. It has to be.
You never get tired of it?
You get tired, but you don't get tired of it. You get physically tired and you get worn down. So I'm making them treat me with a little more kid gloves than they have in the past.
How did you pick the name Meatloaf?
I didn't, Larry. Oh, my God. I've been haunted.
You don't even like meatloaf, do you?
No, I don't.
You don't even eat meatloaf.
I don't. I'm pretty much a vegetarian.
So how'd you pick it?
My dad started calling me Meat when I was a baby.
That's usually a name in baseball. They call
I know rookies.
Meat.
Yeah.
Rookies, Meat.
So all my friends that are in baseball,
hey, Meat.
They're all rookies. My friends that are in baseball, Mattingly, Joe Torre, people like that, they have a real hard time calling. They go, "We can't call you Meat because that's like a name for a rookie." I said, "Just pretend I'm a rookie then." And
so your father gave you the name.
He gave me the name.
Where did Loaf come from?
Somewhere around the 8th grade, and a football coach. I stepped on his foot. This is the true story. I stepped on his foot, and he screamed, "Get off my foot, you hunk of meatloaf!" And
wow.
And that was it. But I've been called Meat my whole life. So I tried when I did hair. I started doing hair. I started in L.A. and then I was in New York. And so for hair and equity in 1969, 70, that was fine. Meatloaf was fine. But now I've moved to Shakespeare in the park with Joe Papp, and I went up to Joe Papp. I'm doing As You Like It with Raul Julia and Mary Beth Hurt. And I went to Joe and I said, "Joe, listen, we're doing Shakespeare. Maybe we should drop Meatloaf and use my real name." And Joe looked at me, and it's etched in my brain, burned in my brain forever. He looked at me and he says, "What, you think if Bill wasn't alive today, he wouldn't use Meatloaf?" And he walked away. So I went, okay.
Okay.
And then I tried to get rid of it with Steve Martin. I've tried.
You can't.
No.
The album, by the way, is Meatloaf. Hang Cool Teddy Bear, out right now. New CD. You going to act again? You've been in a lot of movies.
I've been in a lot of movies, not counting, but 51. And yeah, I get offers. We get offers all the time. I've got one sitting on the table they really want me to do, and I'm thinking about it. It's playing an undercover FBI agent, which is really, but it's a little independent, but it's got a good cast. But right now, when you get on a recording touring cycle, you pretty much are locked up for about 3 years.
Your daughter sings. Does she back you up at all? Is she on the album?
She's on a bonus track, which I want to give to True Blood really bad. It's called Boneyard, and but she has an album out. Pearl has an album out right now called Little White Immaculate Fox, and she's out touring, and you know, she's young. She's out there on the road driving around in a van or whatever they're driving around in, and a U-Haul trailer. You know, really laying real roots of it.
A couple of other things. You have a North American tour beginning July, right?
July 3rd in New Hampshire, Guilford. And
How long a tour?
well, right now it's 17 shows. They're going to extend it another 11. And then I'll see. Then I'm going to take time off so we can see where we're going from there.
Going to do a lot of tunes from the CD.
We're going to do. Right now we're working on 7 songs out of the 13. We probably won't do them all because you don't do all the new ones right off. But I've got some real surprises in this. A song that and I'm not going to tell you because it's a surprise, but a song that I swore I'd never do live, and we're opening the show with that song. And so I can tell you, but I'm not. And then I'm going to cover something from every album I've ever done on this tour, including a song I wrote when I was a 13-year-old.
You're amazing. Anything you want to do you haven't done?
Everything. Absolutely. I want to do everything. I want somebody to hand me a script with the perfect character. I don't care what it is. It could be a 45-year-old woman. If it's perfect, I'll play it.
You want to do the perfect song.
I want to do the perfect song. I desperately, not a musical, a play on Broadway.
If anyone finds the lost chord, it'll be you.
And I'm hoping, and I hope I do, Larry. And if I don't, you will.
Thank you, babe.
Thank you, Larry. Thank you very much.
Meatloaf, the album is Hang Cool Teddy Bear, as it says. One hell of an album with 12 new classics. On Larry King now, he's a timeless talent. It's Meatloaf.
I stepped on a coach's foot in the 8th grade, and he screamed, "Get off my foot, you hunk of meatloaf." And 8th graders think things like that are really funny. I don't rely on the audience for my performance, for my energy. I've always said I can give the same show in front of 4 trees than I can give in front of 400,000 people.
Plus,
I've smoked pot one time in the 60s, and I thought there was people in the drawers, and I was opening kitchen cabinets going, okay, I know you're in here. So I can't have that stuff.
All next, 7 release, making one of the top 5 highest selling albums ever. He's also known for roles in the Rocky Horror Show, picture shows, and Fight Club, as well as the Broadway classics like Hair. And now Meat is headed to the Vegas stage in the second half of Rock Tells and Cocktails presents Meatloaf, which opens on February 13th at the Planet Hollywood Resort and Casino. Great pleasure to welcome. I'll tell you the first time I met and interviewed Meatloaf, he might not remember this. Bob Costas used to do a show called Later, and we decided that he would get a guest for me, I would get a guest for him, and we wouldn't know who the guest was. It was live. You had to just come on cold. I brought him Governor Mario Cuomo, and he brought me Meatloaf. I had no idea who Meatloaf was, and he walked in. I said, my guest is Meatloaf. When you check into a hotel, how do you sign in as Mr. Loaf, and what do you do? You remember that night?
I do now. Because for people who don't know, when you do television, they always call to do pre-interviews. So
there was none for that.
No, there was none for that, but they always call. Right. And the gentleman that called for the pre-interview started saying, do you remember this? And I'm going, no. That doesn't really mean anything now. You know, my brain is a little slow. But when you mentioned just now Mario Cuomo, I went, oh, yeah, I remember that now.
That was a fun show.
But we had done, when you were doing a radio show.
That's
we had done that.
Correct.
We had done a raid down in D.C. I'd been on your talk show.
Before Bat Out of Hell, what was your break in show business? How did you get known?
Well,
how did you become Meatloaf?
Oh, well, Meatloaf, it started with my dad before I was a year old, calling me Meat, because some babies are born red, and they put them under those lights. My youngest daughter was born red, and they put her in the lights, and in a few hours she was not red anymore. I stayed red for a long time.
So they called you Meat.
So my dad thought I looked like a piece of meat, so he called me Meat.
How did it become Loaf?
I stepped on a coach's foot in the 8th grade, and he screamed, get off my foot, you hunk of meatloaf. And 8th graders think things like that are really funny. And so it just continued on like that. They put it on the locker the next day. And so my whole high school, people either call me ML or Meatloaf.
I hear you do not like to be called a legend. You don't like to be called a superstar. You don't like to be called a musician. What do you like to be called?
Meat.
Just Meat. You're an actor. I hear you prefer actor.
Well, that's my roots. I honestly, Larry, I mean, I've learned about music, obviously. When I was younger, I tried to play guitar, so I learned a few chords, but I could never tune it to sound right. So it was like, my roots are in acting, and I got into acting because I wanted to get out of study hall in high school because they made me be quiet. And my Indian name is Never Shuts Up. And so
I gather.
Study hall was dry. Yeah, I have no concise answers either, Larry. I don't know. That short, concise thing doesn't work with me. So I wanted to get out of study hall, and because it was driving me insane. So I went to the counselor, and she goes, "You take drama?" And I think, anywhere but this place. So I went into drama, sat in the back of the class, thinking, okay, I'll sit here. At least I can talk every now and then.
So how did Bat Out of Hell come about?
Okay, Bat Out of Hell came about because I went to New York to do hair on Broadway, and my joke is they paid me $12 not to do the nude scene. And so they...
What were you in hair? Just the chorus?
I sang Aquarius. I was never on stage doing it. I sang Aquarius, then I went off stage and did they had the moms, all these little bits, and Hubert and Young Recruit and What a Piece of Work Is Man and General Grant. Yeah, I just was off changing clothes. And I was doing the nude scene down for the costume people. So I went, they said you have to have an agent, so I went to an agent named Jeff Hunter, who was Raul Julia's agent, who I became good friends with.
Great guy.
Great guy. Did 2 plays with him. So he said, you got to work for Joe Papp at the Public Theater. I went down to Public Theater. I sang a song called I'd Love to Be as Heavy as Jesus. And for this gentleman named Jim Steinman, he got up and said, can you wait here? And as he was passing me, because Jim's got a great sense of humor, he said, you're as heavy as 3 Jesuses, by the way. And left, brought Joe Papp and this army of people back in. I sang a little bit for Joe. He had me sing something else, handed me a script, and said, pick out a character. And that's Jim Steinman, and that's how we got Bat Out of Hell together. But everybody knew me as an actor. So if I would go to a restaurant in New York, people would come up and go, were you just in As You Like It at Shakespeare and at the Delacorte? And I said, I was. They said, great job. And so that was fine. If people come to you, that's why I don't want to be a superstar and legend. I like people to respect my work and enjoy my work. And if people come to me and go, I really like what you did, thank you.
In the Broadway program, when you're doing a play, it says Meatloaf.
It does. And I went to Joe Papp, the first Shakespeare I did for Joe, and I said to him, Joe, listen, we're doing Shakespeare. Maybe we shouldn't use Meatloaf here. And Joe just looks at me and goes, if Bill was alive today, he would use Meatloaf. And I stood there forever going, who the hell is Bill? and all of a sudden it dawned on me, Bill, William, got it. But that was his guy. He didn't say anything.
You had a rocky relationship with Jim Steinman, right?
No, we didn't. That's like, you know how press creates this.
How did that happen then?
Well, Jimmy wanted to be an artist as well. And Jimmy he wanted more recognition for Bat Out of Hell. And I took him everywhere with me. And the recognition went to myself and Carla. And I felt bad for Jim. I did everything in the world. I took him to every interview. I took him to every radio. I took him, he opened the show when we were doing we did everything. It's like Steven Tyler with Aerosmith or Mick Jagger with the Stones. That's the first. Jim Morrison with the Doors. The front man just gets the recognition.
So you're friends with him?
Oh, yeah, I talk to him all the time. We're working on a record together.
Coming up, what makes Meatloaf's performance so special? We'll learn from the man himself. Stay with us. We're back with the great, I can't call him great.
No, you can say great.
Oh, I'm back
superstar.
with the great Meat.
I don't mind great.
Horizons.
I like great.
Checks into hotels, Mr. Loaf. What's the goal? You step on a stage.
The goal?
Do you feel them every time when you're singing, when you're performing?
No, I don't use the audience. I don't.
What do you mean?
I don't rely on the audience for my performance, for my energy. I've always said I can give the same show in front of 4 trees than I can give in front of 400,000 people. 400,000 people. I played in front of 400,000 people. There's a lot of energy there, but there's a lot of energy from trees too. But I don't use that.
What do you use?
I just go away. I go off. I go back to Strasberg because I did some work with Strasberg into his image method, which is good to use when you're singing a song, but not necessarily good to use when you're shooting a film with another actor. And that's a long explanation. But the images, and I back to the pre-interview, I explained that I don't like talking on the phone. And so if I talk on the phone, I have to know who I'm talking to, and I see their faces. So when I'm singing this song, I'm running a film. And the film, every night, how many times I've sang Bat Out of Hell? Who knows, 3,000, 4,000? But every night, it's like the first time because I get a different film.
Why does it still sell like 200,000 copies a year?
Because Steinman got inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame. And I did an induction speech before he came up to accept his award. And I compared him to the writer Samuel Beckett. And I didn't know that Samuel Beckett, and Jim and I have been working together forever, and I never knew Samuel Beckett was his favorite writer. And for me to compare him to Samuel Beckett, he almost fell over because Samuel Beckett was a master of the human condition.
Sure was.
And I think that Steinman is exactly the same way. And as Jimmy's gotten older, because Bat Out of Hell was really about the human condition of adolescence. And it struck a chord, so it doesn't make any difference how old you are. You remember that, whether you're in a horse and buggy and making out in a hay bale or you were in the back seat of a Chevy.
One of your most famous roles is in Fight Club, right?
I can't even tell you how great, there's no words. I don't have the words, the vocabulary to tell you how incredible it was to work with David Fincher and how much I learned from David.
How did fame, if at all, affect you?
Well, I'll tell you how. If you want to go to a restaurant and it's booked, you know this, Larry.
Yeah.
And you have somebody call, because I can never do this myself.
Right.
And they say, oh, I'm sorry, the restaurant's booked. And they go, well, Meatloaf would really like to come tonight. Oh, okay. We could probably get a table for him. That's how, it's good for that kind of thing. Or,
Did you ever get hooked into drugs or anything?
I've smoked pot one time in the 60s, and then one time in the 80s, and I thought there was people in the drawers that were broken into, and I was opening kitchen cabinets going, okay, I know you're in here. So I can't have that stuff, okay?
But maybe they were.
They probably were. And people have laughed at me going, do you think they were little people? I said, I knew they was in there, okay? They were in there. And
I get it, Meat.
Yeah.
Stay away from it. But we did lose a great artist in Philip Seymour Hoffman as a fellow actor.
Yeah, I did a movie with Philip.
What movie?
It was with Steve Martin. I think it could have been Philip's first movie, I don't know. Movie with Steve Martin called Leap of Faith. It was with Liam Neeson, Deborah Winger.
That's right, yeah, I saw it listed in his.
And so when we first we were up in the Panhandle of Texas in some town. They had a Walmart. That was it. And when days off, everybody go, we're going to Walmart today. You want to go? Okay, I'm coming. And so, but we checked into this. We all got to this motel, and Philip was in the room right next to me. And all of a sudden, I hear Philip just screaming, going, I can't believe. I mean, he is really screaming. And so I'm going, well, I don't really know him, but I got to go make sure he's okay. So I go over there and I go, Philip, are you okay? And he goes, no. And I'm going, well, what's wrong? And he goes, they've taken my scene out. And I'm going, you're kidding. He goes, no. And he goes, and they cut this other one. And I'm going, oh, man, wow. And then all of a sudden I'm standing there going, I better go check my script. I go to my script. They've taken me out.
So what happened?
Well, originally it was an ensemble piece, and we all signed on because it was an ensemble piece. And they hired Deborah Winger. And Deborah Winger, then what they did was they shifted all this dialogue that all of us,
But you were still in the movie, right?
Oh, we're in the movie, but we're not in the movie like what. But Philip Hoffman was not going to be denied.
He forced it.
I was a little, I held back because of Steve Martin and Liam Neeson and Deborah Winger. But Philip, he was bound and determined that camera was going to see him. And he was very creative. And the director loved him. The director said, "This guy's a talent." And I'm going, "Well, I could do that too, you know, but I'm kind of holding back." But Philip didn't.
Great actor, though, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Oh. When we come back, Vegas and Meatloaf. Don't go away. On February 13th, Meatloaf returns to Vegas in Rocktails and Cocktail Z, presenting Meatloaf. What's it like to work there? Singers don't like it.
No, that's what I was getting ready to tell you. You know what? I created this show. I put it up on its feet. They called me about doing this show called Rocktails and Cocktails, so I didn't come up with the name. And they kind of had it in the mind of doing like a VH1 Storytellers. And I said, well, it's Vegas. We can take it, you can take it, do a lot more with it than that. And so I put this whole thing together and went out and laid it out to them like you would pitch a television show. And they just kind of stood there going, you know, that could change how Vegas does shows from now on. I'm going, oh, yeah, right, I believe that. And so, but I just came up with, because I love vaudeville. And so, and I've read about vaudeville, and I know a lot of the jokes, and I've put in. So
is it a vaudevillian show?
No, when the rock songs come on, I do the Meatloaf rock guy. And and everybody disappears. It's like when I shoot a film. As long as they're rehearsing, like the cameras and everybody are there, but the minute they say action, there's nobody in the room except me and the actor.
You interact with the audience, I understand?
I interact with the audience. I tell them, the beginning of the show is I tell them all the things I don't have. Meanwhile, what's going on is they're all behind me.
I can't wait to see this. By the way, tell me your endorsement of Mitt Romney. You'd never entered politics much openly before. What led to that?
No, not openly. Not openly. I am a true independent. I walked the streets for McGovern, in '72, and put flyers in all the New York apartments. And then I did the same thing for Carter. Then when Reagan came around, I was I wasn't sure about Reagan. But then the second term I voted for Reagan, and then I voted for Bush, then I voted for Clinton both times, played the Clinton #1.
Well, you are an independent.
I played the #1 Clinton ball. Then when Bush came, I actually voted for Bush, and I knew Al Gore, and it was like a real, I'm going, this is a toss-up here. And then I hosted the California ball with Marie Osmond for Bush Jr. I've hosted a Democratic freshman Congress dinner. I've hosted a Republican freshman Congress dinner. I voted for Obama the first time, was very disappointed. And then I really liked Mitt Romney. And when we did 2 songs. We had done a show the night before, and I usually don't sing the next day. But they called me and said, can you come down? We're in Ohio. You're not very far away. So we went on stage. We did 2 songs. They were very, very good. But I said, the only way I'm going to do it is if I get to talk to Mitt, Governor Romney before. And I did. And I talked to him because I think China is a major concern for us as far as all the debt they hold. And then I talked to him about job creation. I talked to him about how did he think he could move the economy. And he was he gave me concise answers, which was good because he should know how to do that. But I'd heard some of it before, but there was a couple of new spins in there. And so I said, great, let's go on. So I did 2 songs.
How have you moved so much? I mean, there are not many people who voted McGovern and Bush. I've heard of independent.
Yeah.
But that's kind of a swing.
Yeah, McGovern and Bush. Yeah, well, it's just like, McGovern, that was an easy one. I didn't like Nixon at all. I mean, and then I was proved really right on that one.
I would say.
I was really right on that one. So, I just listened to them talk. And
who are you going to be for in 2016? Supposing it's Hillary. You voted for her husband twice.
I did. It's like, I don't know. I have to hear him talking.
Don't look like it's going to be Christie.
Yeah, that's a shame. Yeah. I mean, I'm sorry that if he put his put his head in a noose.
Well, if he knew about it, he put his head in a noose.
Did he know about it for sure?
If, I said if.
Yeah, because I really like him, because I really like the fact that he's really not wishy-washy. I mean, he really goes, okay, this is what I think, and this is what we're going to do.
That's
and
why
we're
they
doing
think.
it.
That's why they think he knew about it.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, we may know. Anyway.
Yeah.
Meatloaf, we're going to break. And when we come back, we're going to take questions for you from the social media. And we're going to play a game of If You Only Knew. We'll be right back with Mr. Loaf after this. We're back with Meatloaf. A lot of social media questions for you, Meat.
Okay.
Nicholas A. Cray on Facebook. At the beginning of the You Took the Words Right Out of My Mouth video, what did you mean by on a hot summer night would you offer your throat to the wolf with the red roses? What does that mean? You have no...
No, I don't know. Nobody knows. It's just poetic.
Was that a marijuana night or?
No, it wasn't American. It may have been for Jim, not for me.
Okay. John Davis on Facebook said, I saw an episode of Sci-Fi Channel's Ghost Hunters where you went on investigation. What interests you about the paranormal?
Well, I actually saw a ghost in, I've seen several now. Because we were talking about Bon Jovi a second ago, but I saw a ghost when we were shooting, when we were recording Bat Out of Hell, and it looked like a real person. It just looked, if somebody came across this room, walked across, you'd go, there's a person walking across. And she walked across the balcony. She was in white. She was a blonde teenager. And I went downstairs and said, one of Todd Rundgren's groupies down there. And they go, well, how'd you get up there? And I go, well, I don't know. Came up the back stairs. And they said, there's no back stairs. I said, well, there's a girl up there. Everybody went up there. There's nobody up there.
So you question it.
And then I was at a hotel in London called the Landmark. About 6:30 in the morning, I woke up. I kind of rolled over. And there was kind of a guy passing through the room. And I said something to him, but he didn't acknowledge me, which means he wasn't an intelligent haunting. And then we were talking about John. John had said to me, Bon Jovi, he had checked into this hotel in Scotland. And the whole band checked out in the middle of the night. So when I found that out, I went to that hotel.
They saw ghosts?
I guess they saw something. So I said, I want John Bon Jovi's room when he was here. So I went up there. I got nothing. I was really disappointed. So Ghost Hunters, there's been some things happen on Ghost Hunters when I've been on that they've never had happen before. So I love Ghost Hunters.
Ixon Prado on Facebook. Is a movie among your plans?
Oh, yeah, I actually forgot. I have one that's actually at the South by Southwest this year.
Gina Gray on Facebook. Do you have any input into the designs of your jackets that you wear on stage? And where do you get the inspiration from?
Oh, yeah, I have all input on the designs. The girl who has done them, they always give you like a choice of 3 different designs, and then I go from there. And I go, well, look, let's add this rose here. Let's do that. I mean, but basically, I get people that know more than I do about everything.
If you do a duets album, who'd you like to work with? Would you consider Engelbert Humperdinck?
Yeah, why not? We want to do a Christmas duets, which we've got kind of penciled in. And Garth said he would do it, and Reba said she would do something, and Julia Armand has said she'd
About Humperdinck.
Yeah.
He's good.
Yeah.
Facebook user
Ricky Martin is who I want. Ricky Martin and my daughter.
Him.
Yeah.
Facebook user Mark Webster asked, Bat Out of Hell was your signature album, a rock and roll classic. Is there another album or a song by another artist you've heard and said, I wish I had done that?
Oh, yes. Yeah. The song Hotel California, written by Don Henley.
Great song.
Oh, because things where, because I have never read where Don has ever said what the song was about, and it allows you to be in that hotel and imagine your own room and whatever.
Chris Waney on Facebook, favorite place you toured?
Well, I love New York, but I'll tell you the two places that were amazing to tour were Berlin before the wall went down, and like 1970, because
West Berlin,
yeah, before the wall went down, because and Belfast when it was still in the early 80s and 70s, because those people came to a show and acted like they didn't know if they were going to live tomorrow, so they just went completely crazy. So those two audiences I knew about.
Wow. That's great. K. Cosi 80 via Twitter. Is there a possibility of another Bat Out of Hell album?
No. We always knew there would only be 3 Bat Out of Hells, but Jim Steinman and I are working again on this record. I've got 4 songs now, and he wrote me 2 days ago. I'm working on another one, so we could have 5, and then the others are writers that I've relied on: Rick Brantley, Sean McConnell, and Barry Dean, and the guy named James Michael.
Liesl Smith on Twitter wants to know, what's the one thing you wouldn't do for love?
I don't know. If my wife, whatever my wife, listen, trust me, anybody that's in a relationship, will look right at the camera and say this. Anybody that's in a relationship, just remember this: if you're a man, the woman is always right, so you'll do anything.
Correct. And my other tip is, when you get up in the morning, just turn over and say, I'm sorry. It'll cover yesterday and whatever occurs that day. A little game of You Only Knew. First person you ever kissed?
Oh, that was easy, but it was 2. Judy and, I had my first twosome in the 5th grade in the backseat of my mother's car.
Menage a trois.
Oh, yeah, baby.
What were their names?
Judy and Janet.
You kissed them both?
Oh, yeah. And the windows were all we were out. My mother taught school, and I was in the same, so I had to go early when she did. And Judy and Janet showed up, and so we got in the back seat and made out.
You ever find out what happened to them?
Nope.
Where was this? What city?
They were never the same, because I was voted best kisser in the 7th grade.
What city?
In Dallas.
Proudest moment?
Oh, the births, my daughters.
Most embarrassing moment?
Splitting my pants on live TV in Germany and not knowing it, and I don't wear underwear.
If you had another nickname other than Meatloaf.
But that's really how I got my name, Meat. That's my joke. Anyway, go ahead.
Would you like another nickname? Meatloaf, something else?
Listen, if I could have gotten rid of Meatloaf, I would have.
But you can't. Come on.
I can't. No, but Sherry, I'm going to tell you a story. Sherry Lansing on Leap of Faith, she was running Paramount, and she actually called me to her office, and I thought she was going to offer me another role, but she said, we want to not use Meatloaf. And I said, great. And so we were in a screening with Steve Martin for Leap of Faith, and at the end, the credits rolling by, and Steve goes, who's Michael Lee Day? And so he goes, that's Meatloaf. And he turns to Sherry, and she was there, and he goes, hey, you put Meatloaf up there. And I went, okay. So
you're a great man, Meat.
So that's no, there's nothing else. I do have a nickname though.
What is it?
Fireball.
No kidding. I'll see you in Vegas.
Okay.
A huge thanks to my guest Meatloaf, and don't miss him in Rocktails and Cocktails. It presents Meatloaf. It opens on February 13th at the Planet Hollywood Resort and Casino. And remember, you can find me on Twitter at King's Things.